So Flutter architecture can be basically divided in three layers. One is the framework, one is the engine, and one is the embedded. So embedded is where you usually write your native code. If you want to have or any third party or any embedders you are injecting, we don't have to worry about this. This is just for your knowledge. Engine is where your Flutter basically do all your rendering. I think the Flutter uses a Skia engine, which is written in Dart. Which is written in C and C++ for Dart, and it renders all your platform channels, all your rendering UI. And then comes the framework part. And to be honest, we have to worry only about these part. Like we don't have to worry about all these things because it's good to know, but you're not gonna use it anytime soon. Uh, Framework Dart. So framework is the where you will have all your material and Cupertino widgets. So material is for Android and Cupertino for iOS. You have a lot of widgets. You have rendering, animation, paints, gesture, and some foundation widgets. So this basically summarize your overall Flutter architecture. Next is installing Flutter. So it's very easy to install Flutter. What you gotta do is go to this URL. I've added into the presentation. We can definitely share the presentation with you guys later on. So you can just need to go to docs.flutter.dev, get started, and then it will give you a detailed instruction for installing Flutter. And let's say if you are installing on Windows, you need to follow these commands, and then you can install it. Next is everything is a widget. So I think this is the first thing which you will learn in Flutter, which is everything is a widget. And what does it mean by? So in Flutter, when we say everything is a widget, it's just like think it like a Lego pieces that Flutter has everything in Flutter is called widget. Let's say your text, your columns, your layout, uh, even your themes, and sometimes your navigation. All of that is a part of a UI, and it is like a Lego pieces. You can combine all those Lego pieces together and build something new. And we will see that how we combine rows and columns and build it like build any other widgets with all these widgets. So, and the good thing is because all of these are widgets, it can be used any way possible, and that's the beauty about it. So now, what are widgets? And so, like I said, widget is any UI component which is being rendered in Flutter. That's you can call it as widget. And widgets can be like basically divided into two types. One is the stateless widget, and one is the stateful widget. So, what is like before we go in detail with the stateless and the stateful widget, let's understand what are widgets. So, Dart, and it runs your application. Basically, it runs your UI application, your Flutter application. So in the Run app, it gives uh, so stateless widget in this my app. We have like material application. It has theme. Uh, the first thing we'll do is like we'll change the theme from like primary swatch blue to purple, and you will see I don't have to run the app. I will just click save, and it will change. And this is called hot reload in Flutter. And there are two kind of things like hot reload and hot restart. We'll go back to them. But one thing you need to understand is how easy it is to just how it increase your productivity and how fast it is. And here we have something called my home page. In my home page, it's a very basic application. So one thing is it returns a scaffold. So scaffold is again a widget. So all of these things which we are saying, scaffold, app bar, text, everything is a widget. Every layout is a widget. And we'll see how we design these layouts. So what happened? So basically, this is a very simple counter application. So you can see when you're clicking on it, it is increasing. Uh, so we can change the text here. We can change it to count. And when I click on save, it runs count. And home, and it returns scaffold, app bar, title, text, hi. And in the body, you can just say, oh, we can just leave the body to be empty. And I'll just replace this my home page with the new home screen, and that's it. But the thing is, I cannot call my set state in this class, you will see, because it doesn't even have a state. But here we can call a set state. And let's see what does the set state do. So before that, let's see how we actually render these UIs. So let's go back to presentation, and let's see how we actually go build our widgets and build our UI. So one thing you everyone has to go and check out is the widget catalog. It's provided by Flutter. So if you go to docs.flutter.dev, development UI widget, and you can see all the widgets which is provided and the details about that. And there are like tons and tons of widget. Like it's to be honest, I don't even remember every one of them, but it's good if you go and check out. And they are the every detail is given how it is rendered, how it works, and you have a really nice code base given how it works. But yeah, for now we'll cover some basic widgets with rows and columns. So how do we design UIs in Flutter? And let's take this screen for example. It's a very simple screen where you have an image and few title. We have few actions here like call, route, share, and then again uh, text. So basically, if you want to imagine it as into rows and columns. So let's say our parent widget is a column, and inside a column we have an image, and then we have multiple rows of widgets. uh, it's bit different if someone is coming from native Android and iOS. If you are using Swift UI or Composer, sorry, composable UI, then you can relate it. But and from the old times, it's a bit different because here everything is a widget and you just rendered it into the rows and columns. So let's take this example. So let's say we have, like, you can subdivide these widgets. Like I said, think it as a Lego pieces. All of these are Lego pieces, and you combine all of them together into a single screen. So let's take this row for example. So we had a column, and inside the column we have multiple rows. And if you go in the details of this row, you can again see three children. So a column have had children, and now the rows have children. So you can see three children, like rows with three children like icon, route, and share. And let's try it with the real code. So let's say here I have like title. In the body, I can just give a column. So column basically lay out your widgets vertically. So I can say that, hey, container. We can give some height to container. Let's say the height is 100 and the width is double dot. So we can give width like 100, but I want to width to stretch to the screen size. And what you can do is give double dot max finite, and it will take the max finite width on your screen as we see. And we can, let's specify some colors. So for get some colors, we can do like colors, which is a color class from material, and it gives us a bunch of colors. So let's take something like uh, amber, and I just need to click on hot reload. So this is a hot reload button, and this is a hot restart button. Uh, in my device, you might not be seeing it because I'm just pressing command save and it's changing, but either I can just click on this or change it. So let's say if I change it to pink, for example, and I will just click on hot reload, it works. Again, change, it works. So this is how the column works. But let's say we need multiple containers in a single row. So inside the column, you can have a row. And again, row takes children, which it lays out horizontally. And I can say that, uh, hey, I have a container, and then I can copy this container three contain into three containers. And instead of width as double dot max finite, I can give all of them 100. Oops, and we need to change the colors definitely. Yeah, and you can we can like there's a lot of properties. So if we go and click inside the rows, there are like a lot of properties. Unfortunately, we cannot go into details of each and every one of them, but one of the interesting properties called main axis alignment. So what do you mean by main axis? So for column, the main axis is going to be the vertical one because column lays out vertically. But for rows, it's going to be horizontally because the main axis for row is horizontally. And I can do main axis alignment like space between, and you can create the space between these widgets. So this is how like we children in the inside the row. Uh, and this is like your widget tree would look like. So if I go to the Flutter inspector, it will show me the widget tree, which is basically, hey, I have a column, I have a row, and inside the column, inside the row, I have another containers and then app bar. This is basically how your tree looks like. It's like I said, it's all like Lego pieces. Think everything is a widget here. So column is a widget, which is the uh, parent widget, and the child of it is row widget, which is like three columns, and then icon and container. So if we go back, we can see column, row, icon, container, and text, which basically signifies this. Uh, Now let's talk about hot reload and hot restart. Uh, like we uh, so like we see, this is so hot reload. What does hot reload does is you have a build function, right? And inside this build function, we write all these. So we write all these like a UI, which returns a widget. And like I said, everything is a widget. But when we call hot reload, what it's actually doing is it's just calling this build function again. So it's just rebuilding the build function. So what we can do is let's remove this code, which is a stateless widget, and let's change it with my home widget, and we need to specify the title, and let's the title will be movie application because that's what we are trying to build. And what happens is like here, if I change the counter, the text here, so this is a counter, and if I click on hot reload, what happens is it just rebuilds this function. And there is a difference between a state and a stateful widget and stateless widget. So stateless widget, you have a build function inside of the stateless widget. What stateful widget does is it's basically create a state class where you manage all your UI with the state, and it gives you the same build function which returns widget. And basically what you need to understand is both of them is same. It's one of them give you few features. So in the state widget, you can call init state function. Now what does init state function do is it basically before your build function is called, it initialize your state. So if you want to do something before your UI is being done, like maybe you can call an HTTP request, maybe you need to call some function before even your UI can start rendering. This is the place where you can initialize them. Uh, so let's take this example, which says, let's say we have a counter application, and if I change the counter here, uh, so let's do this. Let's change the counter from 0 to 10. So we have a counter app. We have a variable called counter, which is 0. And when the init state is comes, it changes the counter to 10. And then we are showing the counter in the text widget. And we just hit hot reload, nothing happens. And the reason nothing happens is because init state is called just once when the initialization of stateful widget happens. It does not call when the build function is being rebuilt. So in this case, what you need to do is you need to do a hot restart. And once we do hot restart, you can see that now it's 10. Uh, the count has changed to 10. So basically, hot reload and hot restart is very simple. Hot restart basically restart your whole app from the start. It reinitialize your initialization. It runs the main app from the start. Whereas hot reload is a bit lightweight. It's much more faster than hot restart, and it just rebuilds your build method. Uh, Now let's jump into the demo where we will build the basic app UI for mobile app, and let's see how we can do that. Uh, since I'm live coding, I hope nothing goes bad and the demo gods are with me. Uh, so first thing which we'll do is let's remove one sec. Yeah, yeah. So first thing we'll do is let's remove this my homepage, and we will create another we can create stateless and stateful both for this thing, but let's go with the stateful widget. And let's say call it movie home. And here we can just replace movie home. It doesn't take any title. And you can see by default, it returns a placeholder widget, which is just a placeholder. What we can do is return it with scaffold. So when you put scaffold, it is a material widget. So it gives you the default it gives you the default white color. and app bar. So if we go into the scaffold and we'll see it takes bunch of widgets. So it can take drawer, it can take app bar, it can take floating action button, bottom navigation bar, anything. We are not going to deep dive into all of that, but it's good to know. And again, app bar is also a widget. So if we go inside the app bar, it's actually a stateful widget. So means that you can over like you can stateless and stateful widget can wrap each other. Like there is no restriction that a stateless cannot wrap a stateful or stateful cannot wrap a stateless. So in the app bar, let's give a title, and our title would be again the movie app, and let's see how it looks. Okay, so we have the title. That's cool. Like in just few lines, we have a basic app. Let's now decide a body. So in the imagine it's like IMDb movie app where you have a list of widgets showing to you like list of uh, movie list basically from the IMDb. So the first thing which we would need to do is like have a vertical list, and for that we can use something called column, which we already see that column basically renders your widget vertically. And then inside column to create each single movie list, we can create something like a row children. Uh, Inside each row child, the first thing which we can show is image. But let's before image, let's show some text. So this is let's name some movie. What's the movie name recently came? Uh, okay, let me write uh, Harry Potter. I think everyone would have seen that. And I would just do a hot reload, and you can see Harry Potter is coming. So and now let's add image as well. So image is another widget by Flutter, and image can be fetched multiple ways. Either you can fetch it from a file, you can fetch it from memory, or you can fetch it from the network. So in this case, like we'll fetch some image from network. So I have a URL already ready. So what I can do is image.network. It takes a string basically. So I can just pass a string here, and yep. So image is loaded, but the only issue is it is if we go to our run, you will see that it is overflowed because the image was too big and our system was small. So what we can do is in image, it also takes width and height. So we'll specify width as let's say 100, and oh, it's a John Wick image. So let's name it to John Wick movie. And yeah, now I need to give some spacing between these two widgets. Let's say how I can do that is basically by size box. So size box is a widget which basically create a box of empty size. Or you can pass it a child. So here I'll just give a size box of width, and I'll just specify the size by 24, and you can see a size box is there. But let's say I don't want to use size box. There's another widget. What I can do is wrap my text widget with a padding widget. And here I can specify some padding. So, and I can specify some padding on the left, which is 24. Now, we can also specify a height here. So let's say we want to reduce its height, it is 100. And now you can see there is a gap. So we want to stretch the image to its width and height. What we can do is there is something called fit, uh, box fit. And in the box fit, you can basically use multiple option whether you want to fit the image to the size. Here we use something called cover. So basically it's covering it, or you can use something called uh, fit width, or something called fit height, which is basically, yeah. Uh, yeah. So that's it. Now let's change the style of our app. So in the text, you can add some styles. Mm, yeah. So there is multiple ways of putting. So in the text widget, it takes something called text style. Here you can specify your font weight, your font style, your font size, anything. So here let's give something like 24. Uh, you can also specify your font weight, which is font weight dot bold, and it would be bold. And now, okay, so we have our movie, and I think every movie have some description as well. So let's say I need some description at the bottom of this movie app. What I can do is I can, so again, if we go back into our rows and columns, yeah, you can see that how it creates a column and the row. We'll put the similar logic. So because we need something at the bottom of this, what we'll do is we take the text and wrap it with column. And here we can add some, we can add another text widget, and we can add some description that this this is a description for John Wick movie, and you can see it comes here. And now it is center aligned by default. To make it left aligned, what we can do is specify the cross axis alignment. So like I said, main axis alignment is something which for column it's like it's vertically, and cross axis is like horizontally. So in the cross axis alignment, I can just do it start, and it move like it all aligned with the left. Now, let's say I want to show the ratings of this movie. What I can do is inside this column, uh, let's add it as const. So what we can do now is create a row widget and add some icon. So let's say we want to show the rating. So like the stars, how much stars this movie got on IMDb. And we can say like icons dot, and this icons is basically again a material library for icons, for material icons. And if you want to use Cupertino icons, you can use Cupertino icons. Or if you want to use like assets or something else, that's also possible with image. For now, we'll just go with the material icons for the simplicity. And let's see if we have a widget called star. And yeah, we have a widget called star. Uh, and next, beside this widget, I have something called text. So I can specify that, okay, it got some 7.0 rating. And we can also change the color of the star. So let's change it to color.amber and add some spacing in between. Yeah. So easily, like with just like a few lines of code, we build UI. Now, what we can do is we already seen that everything is a widget, but putting everything in a single widget is not a good idea. So the next thing what we can do is the this basically this row which we created. Let's create a separate class for this, and let's call it movie tile. So here I'll create a new stateful widget. I'll call it movie tile widget, and I'll just take all this code of row. I'll just cut it and paste it here. Yep. So now it's gone because we have removed the code. But what we can do is it's so easy. We can just pass a movie tile. And if you want to add more such tiles, what we can do is like just add few more and you can have it. Uh, you can add some size box in between of them. Let's say some height and let's make it 16 maybe. That's better. Yeah. And yeah, we have like basic UI build for this. Uh, you can also, let's say if you want to make, if you increase like too many widgets, you will see another like column. So this is a very common use case you will see, which is this yellow and black line, uh, and it's called the render overflow. What you can do is wrap this column with some scrollable widgets. So either you can change this column to a list view and it will scroll, or you can go wrap this with another widget, which is single child scroll view, and it will still work. And I think tomorrow we will see more in details about list view and why and how we can use list view. But today, let's just stick with the single child scroll view. And now with just basic thing, you have your like app, you have your basic of this movie app ready. Now the last thing which we will do is we like all the data of this movie app is same, like the image, text, and all of this is same. So what we can do is we can create some new variables uh, and pass it on the constructor. So let's say we can create we can get a string for title. We can get a string for description. We can get another, we can get a double, which would be basically your rating. And although it can also be string, but just for the sake of new thing, like difference in the data object, so I'll just add it a double. And then let's do a string for the image source. And you can see here that we are not passing the actual image. To be honest, you can pass a widget as well. It's too easy, but we'll just pass this. And then we'll specify these in our constructor. So you can see that, hey, it shows the error that, hey, all final variable must be initialized. So let's initialize them. Uh, and we have added required. So what's difference between required and not is that if you add it required, you need to pass it in the constructor, and if not, then it's optional. For now, let's keep it uh, required. And let's remove all these. And here we can, so now like we are not using any, and like we are like removing all these hard coded data from our class. So what we can do is widget and get widget dot description. And you can see it gives us the error because it's not a const value. We can remove the const here as well and then pass widget dot title. And lastly, for the rating. So since the rating is in double, what we're gonna do is widget dot rating is double. Either we can do something like this, which is we can have a string, and inside the string we can put this dollar sign. So this dollar sign basically specify if you want to point to some variable inside a string, and then I can do widget dot rating. uh, it shows some error. Yeah, because it is a double. Another thing which we can do is change it to toString.
Pilyanshu, sorry for interrupting you. If you are removing the const from the rows child children, then it will be
Okay, got it. That's what I was wondering why. Thanks, Chandra.
no issue.
Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah, you can see now we have like removed all except this. Let's change it. Change this as well. Widget dot init source. That's it. So now we have removed all our hard-coded values and we'll pass it into the movie title. So let's put title as and then we can pass description that this is a description. We can pass the image source. So image source, let me get that. Where is that? We have passed some image source, and then we can pass ratings. And since it is required, like if you pass some, so one more thing about this is Dart is like statically typed. So let's say if it is a string and you pass, if it is a double or an integer and you pass a string, it will show error because it knows at the compile time what's the value is going to be. So anyway, here we'll just pass 8.0, which is a double value, and you can see, yeah, it came. And now what we can do is just copy it and create another, and let's say Harry Potter. Uh, this is a description. I'm not going to change the description. Let's change the ratings to 9. And let me get some image for Harry Potter. Uh, let's take this image. Uh, let's see if this works. Oh, it doesn't work because it's not a right URL. Open image. Yeah, this is the right URL. So as you see, we have like done that. So now your data is not like hard code, like it's still hard coded, but it's not hard coded inside the tile. So it's like we have optimized it better. But there is one more optimization, like how we can create it into the list view, how we can fetch the data from the API, and how you can have an actual mobile app, not the dummy one which we have right now. And that's what we are going to see tomorrow. So I think tomorrow Shongo will help us, will take us through the journey where you can fetch the actual data from the APIs and then show it on the mobile app. So it would be the actual working app. Lastly, I want to just do one more thing to fix this is in the image, I want to add the like width and I just want to add the fit. So fit is box fit dot cover and I'll just add height as 200 maybe. So yeah, 200 is a bit too much. Let's add it like 140 maybe. So yeah, this is how easily I think you can see it's just like 100 lines of code, 120 lines of code. You can actually build a full movie app UI. And now the good part of this is it's not only only built for Android or iOS. Like what I can do is I can select macOS and I can click on run. And what it will do is it will create the same code base and run it in macOS. Let's try. I hope it won't fail. And not only that, that's amazing because I just wrote code once and it doesn't, I don't need to write it again for different platforms. It's compiling. But while it's compiling, let's, is it running somewhere? It is running. Okay, so it is running, but it has some error with the connection. And the reason for that is on iOS, sorry, on macOS app, you cannot, on the debug version, it's not easy to fetch images. So what you need to do is either remove the security for the desktop app or or you can use some dummy image. But basically, if you run it in the release version with the proper not the security version, with the proper version, it should work. But since this is a debug version, it won't allow, the Mac OS app doesn't allow you to fetch for the URLs. So for that, you need to go to the Mac OS version. But I think so. You need to go to the runner, and inside the info.pds, you need to enable the network connection. But yeah, let's try with the web and see if the web works. And meanwhile, I think, Shongo, do you see any questions which we can answer?
Yeah, I think the last question is like, is a Flutter app usually a long developing time? So, do you want to answer it, Divyanshu? Like in terms of
Yeah,
mobile development? Yeah.
yeah, one sec. So before that, I just want to show this. Like with the same code base, we run the app in Android, sorry, in iOS, in macOS. macOS is not working. It's working, but it's just you need to enable the settings for the fetching the data and the web. So in the web, you don't need to enable the internet connection. It already fetches it. So with just few lines of code, you have like full grown like web application, mobile application, and the desktop application. That's amazing. And let's get to Q&As. So Shongo, what was the question again?
Yes, from Aman Verma. Uh, like, is a Flutter app usually a long developing time?
Uh, is it so? Okay, if you mean by like compiling time into the application, no. And even if you mean the development time, even that's no. It's very easy to develop the like it's not it doesn't take too long to develop apps. It's actually faster compared to other uh, platforms and other uh, frameworks to build the apps.
Yeah, and also we can add that like regarding the mobile development, like most of the times we must need to support all of those platforms like Android and iOS as well. And if you are thinking about
Yeah,
building an application in Android Studio, and then also learn a total different technologies and also implement it in Xcode for supporting an iOS app, then definitely Flutter would be the fastest one in that sense.
yeah, definitely. And I think like from my past experiences, we have seen like companies, and we have even in my company, uh, when we migrated from native to Flutter, the it like so when iOS or native team were building something, the Flutter team was like 3x faster. And I think Shango can tell you more about Talabat journey next time, how they can like how fast it is for them as well. Are there any other questions, Shango, which you see?
The previous questions, we answered them. but mainly most of the question was related like how hard is to learn Dart language and what are the basic requirements is necessary for the Dart language.
Got it. Uh, I think it's like I said, if it's one of the easiest language to learn. So if you already know Java, if you already know uh, C++, if you have the OOPS understanding, it's very easy. You can jump on it. But if you don't have the OOPS concept, so it's kind of a mix of functional programming and OOPS both. But if you don't have the understanding of OOPS concept, I would suggest you to like learn those basic first, and you can learn them with directly with Dart as well. It's not like you need to learn some other language first before coming to Dart. But it's fairly simple and easy to learn Dart. Like so, yeah. Shango, you want to add something?
Yes, totally agree with you. As I mentioned, that mainly the object-oriented basics are the only things which can really speed up the learning cycle about Dart. So yeah, we received another question from Vikram that can we design UI without code in Flutter?
Okay, like without coding in Flutter. Uh, no, because you need to learn Flutter to build the UI because it is a UI framework. To be honest, like there are some frameworks. I think I know a framework for Python where you don't need to learn Flutter and it converts. You just create some classes in Python and it converts into UI. Even there is one more framework which is my framework Mirai, which basically you just write your JSON and it converts into your UI. And like all of these are basically the renderer for the Python or JSON into the UI in Flutter. But yeah, if you're really looking forward into building apps in Flutter, I would suggest it's good to deep dive into Flutter and understand how the UI works. So yeah, short answer is no. You need to learn Flutter, and but yeah, there are some packages like I said, like my package Mirai, some other package. I saw one for Python. These allows you to build Flutter UI without learning Dart or Flutter. So yeah.
Exactly. I also dropped one link about one tool which is using Flutter under the hood. So mainly, basically,
Oh
there
yeah.
are some no-code tools, mainly which their purpose is like supporting the giving a chance and an opportunity for the managers, designers, people who has mainly no skills and knowledge about programming, but mainly like our main goal with Divyanshu was like showing that how short time, like how easy to be at a really basics application in such a short time, and also supporting different platforms in parallel. So we hope that guys, you can also follow the process, and tomorrow we can continue to improve our application.
Yeah. So I think for today's code, what you see, you can just go and scan this GitHub repo, and you will be redirected to the repo where you will find the code. And so what's next? So tomorrow, Shango will take you to some advanced widgets in Flutter, and you will be building the app with the REST APIs, and it might look scary, but it's very simple. He'll do it just like in few seconds. He's really fast with this. But yeah, it's very simple, and you will see the real power of Flutter soon. So that's it. Thank you, everyone. So again, my name is Divyanshu. You can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, or if you have any question, just send me a message on Twitter or LinkedIn or anywhere. I'll try to help you out as much as I can.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for making this session successful with your thought-provoking talks and skills. And also, thank you, Songer Vijay, sir, for answering all the question in the chat box. Still, if anyone having any question or queries, do write in the chat box. We have come to the end of this event now. I'm sure all of the students gain a lot of valuable information from this interactive session. But as the saying goes, a good event never ends in the world. They take only a pause and keep us waiting for the next. So, see you all tomorrow at the same time for understanding some advanced widget and UI components. You can all respond to your respective colleges, GDS, provide confirmation for tomorrow's session. Before leaving, I would request you all to register for e-batches and certificates, which is mandatory. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming. And I hope everyone have a nice day, and see you all tomorrow.
Yeah,
Bye
guys,
bye.
thank you so much for coming during your weekend. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining for today. And we will go live on GDSC UIT page on YouTube. So you can join there also. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Thank
sir.
you
Have
so
a
much, sir.
nice evening.